What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and I don't know what's going on with this little section of my hair right now. I think that means I'm probably about due for a haircut, really. But anyway, I wanted to kind of follow up a bit on my previous video that talked about, like, full-time ministry jobs and that kind of stuff. And today, I'm going to get a little more personal, number one. And two, also, I think this one's going to be a bit more focused on people who are, like, in pastor/mentor type roles. And I think the main thing that I really want to say in all this is that, okay, well, first off, going back to the previous video, every Christian is called to full-time ministry, but that doesn't mean we're all called to full-time ministry jobs. That was like the main point of the last video that I did on this matter. And with that in mind, I just kind of wanted to look back on a bit of my own personal experience and kind of give some insight and thoughts on what happened, what I think maybe could have gone better, and I guess maybe use that as a way of maybe suggesting some things to pastors/mentors, especially youth pastors and mentors, because that's really kind of where this personal experience is primarily coming from. I guess a little bit of young adult, college age kind of experience too in here. But for me, so back kind of near the end of high school was when I really, really felt that God was calling me to a career, at least at that time. I felt like he was calling me to a career in youth ministry. Now, my life's course up to this point has pretty well lived that out. I mean, not necessarily in the way you would think with my current job being at a Christian boarding school, but it's still there to some extent. And to anybody who I bring up in this video, I'm not going to mention you by name, but if you happen to watch this and you know who you are, know that, like, I'm not holding anything against you for this. I don't regret by any means the path my life has gone on, because the one thing that I think pursuing a youth ministry career did that, you know, made a significant difference is that it had me go to a Christian college to study youth ministry, and that was where I think my desire and passion for really any kind of youth ministry at all was really solidified. I mean, I had an inkling and I had a desire towards the end of high school going into college, but the college experience for me really solidified my desire for youth ministry, my passion for bringing up young people and helping them see what's wrong in the world, help to make change, and do it all in a godly manner. But anyway, going back to my high school experience, I felt like I was being called to a career in youth ministry. And I came across a little bit of disagreement, we'll say. Not necessarily hardcore resistance, because it's not like anybody particularly stopped me. I still went to college and studied youth ministry and did some youth ministry stuff for quite a while. Still kind of am. But I did encounter some disagreement. My own youth pastor at the time, and also I think kind of the senior pastor of the church I attended, both weren't exactly in agreement with this idea that I should be in a youth ministry career. Where I see a bit of an issue, though, is it was just kind of left at that. I don't really recall hearing any other suggestion or redirection or anything like that. It was just kind of a simple, I don't know if you should really pursue a career in youth ministry. And there were certain things going on in my life at the time, certain things about me that, okay, yeah, like, I was even more introverted back then than I am now. And different things like that, like, I can kind of see maybe why they would have said that I wasn't fit for a career in youth ministry. But again, the thing that I really didn't see in all this was some kind of redirection or other suggestion of, all right, if I'm feeling this kind of passion for youth ministry, then how else do I go about this? How else do I pursue this passion while still having another career? Or like, what other kind of job would you suggest that I have that would still allow me the flexibility to be involved in youth ministry? I don't recall hearing any of that from either my youth pastor or the senior pastor where I attended at that time. And even later on, like, towards the end of college, maybe even like right immediately post-college, I remember the youth ministry at that same church went through a major transition because, let's just say, the 2 full-time youth ministry staff that they had at the time did something that was, like, kind of not allowed by the church staff code, or basically it was not at all a good moral example or anything like that. So they were let go from their positions, and the church was left kind of scrambling for how to take care of the youth ministry. I'm there, I'm noticing this scramble, this sudden shift, this change in need, and I'm like, hey, let me help out here. I have a youth ministry degree, for crying out loud. I didn't say it like that, but let me know what you need done. I am willing to help in some capacity beyond just a regular volunteer. And I pretty much got shut down by the senior pastor at that moment. And again, I don't think he had any bad intentions or anything like that. But at the same time, it was just the simple fact that I got a flat out no, and there wasn't even really much of a particular reason given for it this time. So I'm kind of left to draw my own conclusions on that one. But in any case, the simple outright no is not always very helpful. In fact, some of those kind of responses almost spurred me on even further and more persistently on the youth ministry career track, because I felt like it was just simple disagreement or resistance with what I felt like God was calling me towards. And I was not going to let a couple of other people's opinions get in my way, in a manner of speaking. So I think really where the suggestion comes from out of all this is that, okay, first off, let me just say, for those of you in any pastoral or mentorship role, especially in regards to a certain ministry, and especially for youth pastors out there, and leaders, and anyway, especially for the youth ministries out there, it is okay if you do not think that God is actually calling a particular person to a certain career or ministry or job or whatever. Like, it's okay to disagree with that person. Even if they feel that God is calling them to that, you can have a disagreement, because, we're flawed and human, and we're not always the best at interpreting what messages God is trying to send to us. So I think really you can have a disagreement, but if you're going to suggest somebody not pursue a particular path or a calling that they feel or something like that, I would suggest having some sort of reroute or basically suggest something else. Communicate something to that person that says, hey, it's great that you have this passion and we want to utilize that, but I don't know if this is the best way for you to utilize that passion. Maybe you should think about this instead. And, even if that's, redirecting them to a totally different ministry within the church or whatever it is, have another suggestion there and explain your reasoning behind it, and also explain to the best of your ability how that suggestion can still, make good use of the passion and desire that is displayed by this person who feels this calling. Because, for me, I can tell, even now, despite all these questions and doubts and concerns that I've had with, having youth ministry as a career, long term, for myself personally, I still feel passionate about youth ministry. I still feel that God has called me to some type of youth ministry involvement, but it's the extent of that involvement or the way that plays out that has really kind of maybe shifted in my mind over the years. So if you're that pastor or mentor or whoever is being asked, or that someone is seeking you when saying that they feel passionate about a certain type of ministry or something, offer some sort of suggestion if you don't agree that a career along that line is what's best. Because that was not what I got, and for me, if I would have been given some other suggestion and a reasoning for it and other information like that, I might have more thoroughly considered the feedback from the pastors that were talking to me about that and telling me these things. But since all I got was a flat out no, without really any other suggestion there was maybe a little bit of reasoning of why not, but there was no suggestion or redirection of maybe you should do this, and here's why I think you should do this instead. There was really none of that. So I think if I had that, again, I might have taken that a little more seriously rather than just basically using it as fuel for the fire of my desire to have a career in youth ministry. And again, I don't regret my life's path up to this point. I don't regret what has happened up to this point because, again, that college experience solidified my desire for youth ministry, at least to some extent. And it has led me to where I am currently. I might be thinking entirely different thoughts. I might even be in a whole different spot in my faith in general had I taken a different course in life early on. So again, I don't regret anything that's happened. I'm not hostile towards any of my former pastors who had those thoughts, but I think the lesson that could be learned from this is if you really want someone to take your advice and your suggestions seriously, have reasons, have alternatives, and like basically be supportive while still kind of like redirecting in a sense, I think is really the better approach to this than just kind of a flat out no. But again, that's my personal experience from this. Different people will respond in different ways to different kinds of feedback. So keep that in mind as I'm making these suggestions, or as you're interacting with different people that you might be pastoring, mentoring, or whatever. So I think that really kind of encapsulates the big idea that I wanted to talk about with this. I just thought I would use my own personal example as my reasoning and thought process behind my main idea of this, which is, again, pastors and mentors, if you don't think a particular person in your ministry area or whatever, like if you have a disagreement on career choice or life path or even ministry involvement, offer up other suggestions with reasons for those suggestions, and try and work with whoever it is. Let them know that yes, you still like acknowledge that they're passionate about something, but offer other ideas on how that can be used, given the person's personality or whatever your thoughts are for thinking they're not a great fit for this ministry that you're kind of trying to move them away from. Anyway, so that, I guess, is really all I have to say for this time around. So, you know what to do to keep up with my channel. Leave your thoughts down in the comments on, if you think this suggestion I'm making is a good one, or other suggestions you might have for people in ministry leadership of any sort, as they, really any advice that you want to give, leave it down in the comments and spread the word on all that. So yeah, otherwise just look down in the description for info on how to keep up with my videos and my social media pages and all that kind of stuff. So otherwise, that's all I've got for you. So I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.